And this week's Torah portion is titled Ekev, meaning if you follow or if you pay attention. And it comes from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 12, all the way through chapter 11, verse 25. And the whole book of Deuteronomy is filled with many recaps and remembrances, reminding us where God has brought the Israelites, where he has, or what he has done for them, reminding us never to forget him or any of his commands, statutes, or judgments. And last time I spoke was on Matot Maseh, on the 42 steps of Israel's journey throughout their wilderness, and how we can apply it to our lives, remembering where God has brought us and taken us from, and how we have grown and being able to continually give thanks and bless him for it all. And the Parashah Ekev follows that same pattern of remembering the past, and throughout the Parashah, it touches about the spy's report, and it mentions the second pair of tablets having to be remade, and all about Israel provoking God's anger. And we get to chapter 11, and it sort of switches gears a little bit. But even throughout all the bad and that Israel has done, God also reminds us of his rewards. And just a little disclaimer, if you've been to our church more than one time, you'll know that we're not about the prosperity preaching. We're not about God's going to bless you no matter what. We're not going to tell you what you want to hear, but we are going to tell you what it says in his word. And two things to remind ourselves is the promises that he gives us, they are conditional, but his love, that is something that is unconditional. But God does reward our love and obedience for his law. And these rewards, these blessings, they come with a condition. But it is a condition that's a simple equation. It's an if-then statement. It says in his word, if you keep his charge, his statutes, his judgments, his commandments, then you will be blessed. And we'll open up to the word right now. We'll read to chapter 11, verse 13. And it shall be that if you earnestly obey my commandments, which I command you today, to love the Lord your God and serve him with all your heart, with all your soul, then I will give you the rain for your land in its season. The same chapter in verse 22, for if you carefully keep all these commands which I command you today to love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, to hold fast to him, then the Lord will drive out these nations from before you, and every place on which your foot treads shall be yours. Even down to verse 26. Behold, I set before you today a blessing and a curse. A blessing if you obey the commandments of the Lord, which I command you today, and the curse if you do not obey the commandments of the Lord. And it's a simple equation. It's an if-then. We don't have to dive deep into what does a translation really mean. It's simple, plain text. You can read it for yourself. That God, he wants to bless us. Yes, he loves us unconditionally, and he wants to give us blessings, and he has these promises for us, but it's if you obey my commands, if you earnestly obey them. Even what did Yeshua say? If you love me, keep my commands. And we have to not forget, we must learn to not only go after God, to seek God for our needs and wants. Yes, we can always bring them to God, and yes, he will, in his time, answer our needs, some of our wants, but to go to him to seek his face first, to know him and to be known by him. And when we truly devote ourselves to learning about him and obeying his commands, we truly will see his hand working for us as it is his promise. And he is not a man that he should lie. And I know I'm preaching to the choir on this one, on these things, but repetition is a very good thing. And being reminded, just as we have been reminded this whole book of Deuteronomy, being reminded that it is a good thing of God's work in us and through us and his promises he has for us.